Welcome back to the Aliens and Angels podcast. Meet my special guests, LaLa Bright and Bob McGuire, who are a UFO paranormal power couple thrown together by the phenomenon. LaLa is a psychic medium and experiencer. Bob is a scientist and engineer with internationally recognized credentials. They will speak of their work together. LaLa's earliest paranormal recollection is of her finding her neighbor's grave in a Baltimore cemetery with thousands of graves by simply hearing the deceased neighbor calling her. And this was when LaLa was only 5 years old and she couldn't yet read. Her father, a Reiki practitioner, experiencer, and energy worker, recognized her instantly. She now speaks to the deceased for those who need it. She speaks to aliens for those who need it. She calls energy beings to her home daily, and she gets them to respond intelligently. Bob has outfitted their home with technology to enable LaLa's abilities to be documented and shown to the world. They are truly a power couple bonded first through LaLa's reading Bob's deceased mother, then business, then a close relationship, and they now live together, loving their new and exciting life. Bob served the U.S. Intel community for 27 years as a scientist and was chief scientist of the Hume Center for National Security and Technology at Virginia Tech for 11 years before he retired and began UFO paranormal as a vocation. And today we're going to talk about LaLa's adventures, and especially with the light beings. LaLa and Bob, welcome to the Aliens and Angels podcast. So good to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
Now, did I leave anything out?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Did I leave anything out in your introduction?
It was perfect. It was good. Very good.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So did you want to start by, some of the viewers maybe have not heard your story before. Do you want to start by telling us a little bit about how you got together? Because that's a story in itself. And then we'll go on from there.
Start.
Okay. So a couple years ago, I lost my mom, dad, and then boyfriend. And so I hid my psychicness, as you said, my dad was psychic and he taught me all about that, but I hid it a lot to please others and the bullying. And I'm really shy. So I just kind of tried to be normal. So after they passed, I decided to be myself and help people process the pain that they were going through when they lost somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing is, sometimes my family, they would interact and do things with my phone to make me pay attention to certain things. Okay. And so I walked away and I went back, and a certain show on YouTube was on my phone that I'd never seen before. And I started listening every night to this show. And one time he shows up, I didn't know who he was, and I just got that feeling I always get from the spirits, like, you have to talk to him. I don't know what it is, but you have to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did my spiel, like, I know I sound like a weirdo, I don't want anything, but I have a message for you. And so later on, his mom passed, and I read for him, and he was impressed but unsure, so he tested me to make sure I was real.
Yeah.
And so we became friends through all that. And with his expertise and mine, we mixed it together and created a business. And then we fell in love. So that's my short
The
story.
rest is history. I'm wondering if you can share with us something I heard from watching you on another show where you knew something that was personal to Bob and his mom. Was it a nickname that she had for you, or was it your grandmother? And LaLa knew it, and you knew at that point that she was the real deal.
Yeah, that was astounding. So she told me a bunch of stuff my mother and I knew, but no one else knew. She told me a bunch of stuff that I didn't know. I found out none of my siblings knew, but we were able to find out from relatives. So she knew if she told us, that we would be able to see was true. And LaLa hit it. She was 100%. So at the end of the reading, she says, wow, there's this little short lady walked up, and I can barely understand her because her Southern accent is so thick. I can't quite parse what she's saying, but she's kind of animated, and she keeps saying this word over and over and over again. I don't know why she's saying it or what it means. Oh, I says, what's the word? She said, it's Tweety. And I knew immediately what she was talking about. When I was one, my parents moved us from Tennessee to Alabama, where we joined my grandmother and my grandfather, and we ran a furniture manufacturing business in Southwest Alabama. And she would regularly keep me while my parents did other things. And she called me Sweetie. I couldn't say the word, so I called her Tweety. And I'm the oldest, so that became her grandmother name for everyone was Tweety. And she had picked it out, and she had been dead for over a quarter of a century. And she said, you know, she's got a poodle in her arms. And there's no way possible that she could know that my grandmother bred poodles and that she had a favorite she always carried in her arm named Pierre. So immediately I says, you know, look, can we continue to talk? I want to get into what it is you're able to do, and maybe even figure out why you're able to do it. And pretty soon I figured out some of the stuff she was telling me, because I had been in UFO stuff for a while, were alien abductions and alien visitations. And some of the stuff that I had seen on TV programs on the Travel Channel, she was interacting with spirits, the same type that Amy Allen and Zach Bagans were seeing in their outing. So it was just me. She was really interesting. So we started to interact, and she would tell me things she thought were dreams. And all of a sudden I said, you know, that's not a dream, that's this. And lots of people have these experiences. And I would, like alien abductions, I would show her in literature or in papers or in talks that other people had exactly what she told me about. So either they all have a shared dream or all their experiences are real. And given what we've lived through, it's experiences.
Oh, I would agree 100%. They say the truth is stranger than fiction. And it really is. And once it's almost like there's a veil. Once we accept that these paranormal things are real, it's like then it opens up a whole world of other things that we don't even expect. And what I really like about it is once you cross, you don't ever have to go back, because you know the true and you know the real. Yeah. What surprises me about the two of you is Bob, you come from a science background. That's not easily, people who come from a science background are not easily tricked or convinced of the paranormal. But the way everything happened for the both of you, I think it was meant to happen. And I agree too. I didn't share my paranormal experiences for a long time, partly because I wasn't sure if I was dreaming or just crazy, because other people were not talking about this stuff. And it made other people feel so uncomfortable that I also hid it a lot. Yeah. But when I finally came to acceptance of my own situation, it's really weird. I think there's also some kind of a connection on the internet, because I'll be watching YouTube videos and exactly what I need to see comes into my feed. Yeah. And it blows me away every time, which is how I found out about the two of you. But enough about me. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say these synchronicities abound. And so I'll let her tell what she's observed about noticing this stuff, about hiding and then unhiding.
Oh, yeah. The beings, I call them energy beings, but I mean like aliens and all the different ones. Yeah. They hide really well. You have to really, really look. You would never know. And once you notice them, they come out, and then more come, different ones come. It's very interesting. It's like going past different levels. You get a new gift, I guess, of realizing what is really around us, because we just don't know. we're taught that is not real.
So in my case, my first kind of truly paranormal experiences where I went to a ghost hunt in Bedford, Virginia, and we definitely had a ghostly event. We could hear people walking and talking in the hall. We thought it was other people. We found out that they were no longer there and that it had to be a spiritual presence making that racket. Then I went to visit Christopher Bledsoe, who lives in North Carolina.
Yes.
And we had all the experiences that he details in his book, UFO of God. And I think my visit with him is where he ends the book. Now, he's had many experiences since then. I'm not going to steal his story, but near the end, you got my story. And I thought I was just observing what was happening to Chris. Okay, well, when you leave one of these experiences like Chris, often the, quote, hitchhiker follows you home. The hitchhiker, and we saw all sorts of stuff, orbs, flashing beings in the sky, purple auras. And then when I went home, we had apports of water, like some invisible apparition was shooting the person that went with me and me with a water pistol right out of the air for about 2 weeks. I accepted it as real. I talked to Chris. I told him I was seeing stuff and that I would help him do his first major public talk at a UFO conference on all he experienced. I put together the PowerPoint slides with him, and he gave his big talk. And here we go. Now he's done UFO of God, and it's the #1 book in some religious category on Amazon, and has been for now 5 weeks. So he's doing really well at last. Okay, so after that, after my experiences with Chris, COVID hit. The university was going to be closed for a year or longer, so I retired. I went home to Alabama to a place I bought and began having experiences. Craft in the yard, orbs in the yard, orbs in my home, apparitions walking to the foot of my bed that I could see and then disappearing right in front of my eyes. So it quickly became clear to me, now that I was accepting it, the things were not, I wasn't just observing what happened to Chris, I was having my own experiences. My mother began to pass. She reached out to me, and then boom. So after we moved in together, we had all sorts of stuff happen in the house. Sorry. And we put up a camera, and the camera caught an electronic voice phenomenon, crystal clear, and it was her deceased boyfriend. She identified the voice. So then we instrumented the house, saw orbs in the house, put cameras outside the house, and then the world exploded. We began seeing stuff, but she identified their relevance, and I'll just let her tell how, by looking at the things in the videos.
Oh my gosh, I'm so addicted to, my whole life I felt them around me, but I never had something like this where I could just look. We have probably 10 different types of beings so far that have come. Some have humanish, the eyes, the torso, everything, but there's some that are like creatures, and I just didn't know about that. It's very interesting. We've gotten very big. I mean, it's probably as big as, I don't know, a little town maybe. Some of the crafts are huge, and the stars, and they come back. So I'll talk to them, and I'll ask to see. I want to learn more about them. And another night they'll come back at a different angle, and I'll take the pictures from the video. It's happened a couple of times. One was shaped like a cross, which is interesting. And one is really cool. Somebody said it looks like an old microphone or like a rib cage. It's very.
I called it the parking deck.
Right.
Is that the one that looks like a bunch of chevrons, sort of fat?
Yeah, exactly. And that thing it's not less than about 80 kilometers away from us in the sky. I won't go into all the detail how I figured it out, but it's resolved. And so this means the thing is huge. It's like a mile across. The thing is huge. And then we had the craft. We were looking at something and she said, "Oh, wait a minute. I see one of those flashes in the front yard tonight." So she got the video, where searched back and forth frame by frame. And in one of the frames, there was a completely resolved craft with no means of propulsion visible and two bright lights on it. One beamed at us and one beamed at the ground. Like the one at the ground was like the propulsion, and the one that pointed toward us was the sensor, if you will. And it just flew over just beyond our neighbor's house across the back. It's fully resolved. You can see every detail of that structure. So she's gotten a real talent added to her ability to know which video to look at out of the hundreds we've got. She just picks them out by intuition. She looks at them, sees the flash, goes back and forth, looks at the frame, finds the structured craft, and then we put it up on Facebook for everybody to see. It's amazing.
It is amazing. I've been following LaLa's posts now for, I don't know, over a month, and it's just, it blows me away every time. Now, LaLa, what is the name of your Facebook page so people can find where these videos are and watch them?
It's LaLa Bright, LaLaBright. And we have a shared album with videos and pictures, and then there's mine. And there's probably just a few more recent ones that are not in the album, but anybody can see it. So, and if anybody wants to talk, if they had an experience, they can talk to us, We want to help people. We want to do like a soft, we know we're supposed to be doing a soft disclosure. I mean, I feel like they're family and friends. I feel that I'm connected to them more than I realize. It's easy for me to talk to them, and they want me to know who they are. They want all of us to know who they are. There's different ones. We think one is like Palladians, and the other one is Arcturians.
So let me tell the Arcturian story. So she had experiences when she was younger that were frightening to her. She'll decide whether or not to tell them, but the ones that we are having together, given that we're open to them and inviting, we haven't had a scary one.
Right.
Okay. So a couple, 3-4 weeks ago now, I had my fancy Canon EOS digital single lens reflex camera, and I was popping away with the thing. She says, "Oh, let me have the camera." So I gave her the camera. She's very good at shooting it. So she started, she says, "I'm going to go over here." And she took the camera, not at the sky, and pointed it at the grass out behind our house and went click. And in the middle of this photo was this smoky looking stuff that was not in our yard. There was no smoke there. This wasn't foggy. Nothing was burning. And in the middle of the smoke was a clear, non-human face. And it's just as clear as day. And that evidence is in our Facebook shared directory. And then the day later, they visited her. So you tell that.
I was in the house, and it sounded like, the best way I can describe it is, you know how a bunch of bees kind of have that weird sound? It's a whole bunch of them, but it sounds like one. Well, it sounded like that going across and around the room, and then it stopped, and there was just one voice. And it was pretty much saying, we have to get back on track. We have to stop thinking with our ego mind, stop butting heads about what's this and this. We're here for a purpose to help. They want to help us, but we need to help them. There's something coming. I don't know what it is. They didn't say, but we have a certain amount of time to make things right. All of us. Yeah. For whatever's coming.
So we're to help with soft disclosure, but by the end of the 6 years, everyone will know.
Yeah. I'm wondering too, if the reason they need us is because this is our realm, this is our domain.
Right.
And they can't just, because I believe they're interdimensional, they can't just come in and take over. And that's been my experience. I used to see orbs. One of the biggest one I ever saw, it was really weird. I've spent a lot of time in bed because of health issues.
Right.
And it was one of these times I was in bed, and all of a sudden this orbit just rolled through the bedroom wall. It was like 6 foot diameter. It was huge.
Wow.
Rolled across between me and the TV, and then rolled to the outside wall and was gone. But since then, I haven't seen any, but my cats see them all the time and chase them all the time. And it frustrates me. I'm so jealous of LaLa because she can see them and I can't. And I don't know why, but I also get a phenomena where I will see, and they say this is your human brain just making sense of things, but I think it's more where I will see sometimes, if I'm looking at a pattern, a face will emerge from within that pattern. It's very interesting. Do you want me to go to the slides of the?
Yeah, sure. It's your show. Do what you need. We're happy to talk to it.
But I don't want to interrupt your flow either. If you were going someplace
You're
else,
totally cool.
You're totally cool. Here. We can always circle back.
Okay, I'm going to go to the screen share then and go through some of these images. And I apologize, due to my own lack of expertise in what I'm doing, I was not able to get any of the live action videos, but I really, really, really want to encourage all the viewers to go and check them out, because seeing is believing, and they're just phenomenal. Now, here's an image, I believe, of LaLa commanding a sphere or an orb.
You can see my hands at the bottom of the picture. This always happens. She's up dealing with them while I'm snoring.
Oh, that's funny. So this particular type of, I'm just going to call them beings, because there definitely seems to be an intelligence that goes with them. And so did you ask it to come, or did you see, like, how did this happen, this image here?
Yeah, so I talked to them and I asked them to show up if they want. I'm not really too commanding. I'd like to be respectful of them. But yeah, you can talk inside or outside if it makes you feel better. Anybody can do this. If it just takes time, that's all.
Yeah, well, I talk to everything. I talk to plants, and believe it or not, they respond. Usually through the way they grow. But I know in the backyard, I know the birds that live in the backyard. I know whose couple, what they're, all kinds of stuff. So I think we can talk to things. I talk to everything. I talk to my cats, but I do actually talk to unseen beings as well.
They listen. They do.
I totally believe they do too. So did you want, I'm sorry for interrupting. Did you want to say anything else about this image?
No.
I love the way she holds her hand up. And often they will fly into her hand, fly around her hand, fly out of what looks like a portal coming out of the wall or the bed head, right behind her and in and around. And it's just amazing. And if the two of us are awake and talking or interacting or whatever, then they can really go cuckoo. We think we've identified which are my parents and which are her parents or her boyfriend.
That really makes sense.
She should tell you the story of the boyfriend's picture on our dresser.
Okay.
So his name is Dave, and I had his picture in the drawer in the bedroom. And the drawer kept shaking and knocking. And I'm like, what is going on? I open the drawer. It's his picture. I take it out and I put it on top so everybody can see. And the noises stop.
And we have one of these stick figure cameras like the ghost hunters use.
It's great.
And we could see where he was lounging near the picture. Well, it showed up regularly. So,
his orb will fly and go into that picture, letting me know it's him. But we can tell the difference from like the energy beings. They're shaped differently than the spirit orbs.
They really are.
Now, maybe are one of the images coming up of that?
Yeah.
Sorry, did you say yes or no?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, awesome. Then let's move on.
That's definitely.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yes. So you'll see at the bottom So
Mhm.
we now have identified this as an Arcturian. So the big blue one off the back deck and this one are the same entity, and it's Arcturian.
We think.
We believe people have identified it. They didn't call themselves Arcturian, but what she heard, in my opinion, was hive mind, getting together, talking with one voice like her higher self.
And that was a clear night. There should be no fog around the being. But you can see the eyes, the head, the torso, and it's looking at the camera.
And you can tell where we're pointing because that's Orion, the constellation Orion in the background.
Oh,
you can see the dagger, the bell to 2 feet, and one of the arms. So I mean, this is, you can tell where we're looking. And then the being it's on video now. So it walked up and came in the front door. And the next night, we were visited.
Yeah, I woke up with a triangle bruise, a very dark triangle bruise.
Oh, I think that one is here. Is that the one?
That's it.
Yeah. And like I tell everybody, after my family passed, I got really bad anxiety and I got hyper aware of my health and my body. And it was something I would have seen that if I had gotten that.
Yeah.
So you can see her pores clearly. So I identified things that look like this. We didn't test it, but things that look like this on the internet with a Google lens. And it identified it as a pneumatic hypodermic injection site. So it's like they put a pneumatic, an air pressure injector and injected her arm with something. And then she stuck her hand up in the air, doing this thing like she did in that first picture, and an orb flew into that bruise.
We have that posted also.
And a video of it.
Wow. You know, what's also interesting about this, I just wanted to comment, is that the being in this image, it reminds me a little bit of one of the beings or several of the beings that Dr. Stephen Greer has also documented.
Really?
And it makes sense. It makes sense that these interdimensional beings, why wouldn't they be possibly our ancestors or family that have passed, could be from other star systems, could be anything. I think that only in this three-dimensional reality that we live in, we think of everything as being separate, but maybe it's not so separate when we're on the other side of the veil.
Right.
So this smoke and that being were in the backyard. And so the smoke appears to be something like covering up a craft or a portal or whatever that they get out and show themselves to us. Okay, so this is the crazy craft that's like a mile across.
Oh,
and
my
so
goodness.
This is the one she noticed. So this one, there's a video, and she says there's a flash and then a flash. So she scraped back and forth between the two flashes, and in one of the frames, that was in the center of the frame. And so it's just a little fuzzy because we had to zoom it, but the thing is huge, and that's many pixels. It's mostly resolved. And the next picture is the same thing, rotated 90 degrees 3 weeks later. Same thing, 3 weeks later, rotated 90 degrees. It's just amazing.
You know what I really like about this too is my contacts have told me that you know how the mainstream media or even the alt media portrays the spaceships as being either the cigar shaped or the saucer shaped, and I was told that they come in shapes and sizes we can't even imagine. And so one way to tell if they're the real deal or whether they're man-made is simply by looking at the creativity of the image or of the shape. And this really actually speaks to that for me, which makes me think that these are absolutely authentic. Because those that are in charge of well, I don't really know how to say, I don't want to get too much into conspiracy, but, I'm going to call it the fake alien invasion.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of imagination.
Let me add one more.
This requires beings with imagination.
Yeah, let me add one more factoid. So I went off to a MUFON meeting in Virginia, and I sat with the deputy director of the United States Space Force. And I showed him a couple of pictures, and he didn't seem too interested, especially in the orbs. But I showed him this one, and the look on his face was astounding. He gave me his personal contact information, made me send this one and the previous photo to him instantly, and he waited, holding it in his hands like it was the most exciting thing he had seen in a week, and he made sure he received it before he let me stop doing it. And well-known researcher in the UFO field, Linda Thompson, sat right across from me and observed the look on his face. He was really interested in this craft.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Oh my goodness. Wow. There's the bruise. And yeah, so this is some kind of a transdermal patch that somehow is interactive then with these beings. Is that correct?
It looks to me like it's an injection site.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't know. I guess they're pores, but they look very organized,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's whatever chemical went through and bruised her. Either it's the blood from the bruise or the chemical they injected, or both.
And that was not done by I don't know, Men in Black or some human related group.
We can't take it.
Oh, you don't know?
We were out of it. I did not wake up until much later than I always wake up, and she has no memory of it at all.
Interesting. Wow. Now here, is this the craft that sort of?
Oh yeah. This is the cross.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And how far away and how big do you think this one was?
That was up in the stars too.
Oh, it's big. It is at least. I can't tell whether it's hundreds of meters or as big as a mile. There's some ambiguity, but it's it's no smaller than hundreds of meters from top to bottom. I mean, can you believe if ancient man saw this thing in the sky and some other being came down and all of a sudden they go, oh, this must be from the gods. That must be God's image. And then there's your cross.
And religion is born.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Super interesting. Now, another thing is I live in Alberta, Canada, and they do so much chemtrailing that we can't really see much of anything. And it's not like the clouds that we used to see when I was a child. It's just like a haze over everything. Do you think that the powers that be on Earth are trying to mask or cover our exposure so that I know there is a big rush right now for them to control the narrative, get ahead of the narrative. And I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about that, because clearly there's a lot going on up there, and these are massive. My experience with the ship was that it was massive, like a city. It held millions of beings. It wasn't, like these little flying saucers that you see on occasionally, like the Tic Tacs and stuff that make it look like it's just puny and small.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the smaller craft and the flying saucers come out of those massive ships and come down to visit Earth.
Ah, yes.
I think they do try to hide. I think the powers that be do want to control what we see and experience. I think if we all knew who we truly are, where we truly live, that everything would have to change and they would lose control and we'd be more free.
Oh, I
think
agree.
They are literally fear of losing control.
I agree. For me, I keep flashing back to the scene from The Wizard of Oz where the little dog pulls back the curtain and there's the guy in there with the wheel, with all the wheels and dials, and don't pay attention to the man behind the screen.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Is there any more you wanted to say about this? Is this one or two ships, or is it just
two craft?
It is two craft.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you is, do you think they're spaceships or do you think they're interdimensional crafts?
I can't tell. I just can't tell. I just know they're in our sky and not hard to find.
Well, they disappear. They'll flash there and flash away.
So they can be going through a portal to another dimension or another planet. I just don't have an answer.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, we want to find out one day. We'd like if they would tell us.
But if the things that have visited are Pleiadian energy beings or Arcturian hive minds, that's from a place that we know where it's located.
True. Now here's another good one.
So it's the side view, but kind of at an angle, and there's a hole in the center of the craft. And that showed up a couple different nights.
Yeah. There's one that's better resolved than this, but this is good. You can tell it's a structured craft. And the thing I want to point out is you can tell that the sun is above and to the right of it from the shadowing on it. And so it has to be up high. And this was in the middle of the night when it was dark. So the part of it is seeing the sunlight because it's so far above the earth. So that's one of the ways I tell roughly how far away they are, because I know where the shadow of the earth would not allow that to be illuminated. So I can tell how high it has to be.
That's it again with see, it's lighter at the top. There's a hole in the center. It's the same angle. So that was a totally different day.
Totally different day, but it's the same craft.
Yeah.
So this particular craft has come how often to your vision? I don't know.
That one just
your yard or
up in the sky in our backyard, maybe like 3 times.
Yeah.
That's what they usually do.
Yeah, 3 or 4 times, and then somebody else shows up.
And does it seem like there's any kind of problem between the different kinds of beings or crafts, or is it all peaceful?
Well, I mean, so far it's been really peaceful. They take turns. Some of them show up together. Some of them take turns at different hours or different days, but it's always been a good energy.
Wow, this photo.
Yeah, what's happening here? It's spectacular.
So the one on the left is the photo we took. We were with friends in a field, and I had said, please show us your true form, right? And so we took this picture.
Along with several others.
Right. And this was the only one that showed up like this. And those little dots all around it are the stars that was in the sky.
But in the other pictures, this was not there, and you could clearly see the stars in the sky.
And on the right, someone had written us and said, a couple years ago, I took a picture of the sky and I got the same thing you guys got, but I never understood what it was.
And she said nothing about the little entity in the bottom right holding a wand up in the air.
Right.
I noticed that almost instantly when I looked at it. I mean, you can see 2 eyes, a blockhead, his right arm up with something in its hand. I was like dumbfounded when I saw this.
And with on our photo, one of the black portal that's on the left, there's something coming out of it.
Yes. The one on the left, if you zoom in, you can see a craft coming through that hole. So that's a portal because a craft is coming through it.
And we've only gotten this image one other time a couple months ago. And we made this darker so you could see it. That's the only thing we changed.
Yep.
Wow. So this would
but
be
the little entity just like going, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. And it's funny too, the longer you look at it, the more clear it becomes.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, this is a good image.
This is good.
Go ahead.
So this was this was in our videos over our house. And I was going to throw it away. I wasn't sure because my brain didn't compute what it was. I'm thinking it's got to be a certain type like you just talked about, the ships. But something said, just post it. So I posted it, and people kept saying, Jimmy, what's Blanchett, sorry. He got the same craft a couple years ago. They're the same thing. And we've never met.
Except rotated through an angle.
It's amazing.
Years apart. He's doing CE5 like invocation, but using radio equipment.
Yes.
She's doing CE5 invocation by wishing they were here. And they got the same light craft.
Right.
Yes. I've tried to have him on the show. He's so busy right now. He said maybe later on, but I love his work.
He's very nice.
It's all valid. I think all of us are experiencing pieces of a puzzle, Mm-hmm. And personally, I don't think we need the government for disclosure. In fact, I don't even trust what they would disclose anyway when we're all having these experiences. Right. And that's partly why I created this show, was so that we could come together and share our experiences. And there's no conflict, there's no competition. We're grown-ups talking about our experiences and validating each other. And I just felt it was important to do that, because there's entirely too much conflict and drama out there, in my opinion. Right. So this is a light craft, you said.
Yep. Mm-hmm. There's a light that danced across that frame, and Jimmy has a video of the light dancing across his frame. It's the same craft, exactly shaped the same way, 2 years apart.
Amazing.
And one on the left, one on the west, and one in the east of the United States.
And we're seeing this more and more and more every day. It's being reported from everywhere. So I'm pretty excited about it. And but I know a lot of people are pretty terrified still of this whole subject. I have never experienced anything to be afraid of yet. Nothing at all, not even close. Right. I'm more concerned about what humans will do to humans, and the animals than what these beings are going to do to us. And so I have a Facebook group also called Aliens and Angels, and I actually won't let people post stuff as long as I catch it. I won't let them post stuff that's just fear mongering, because it's just not true. So what about this image? Is this the same one or something a little bit different? I notice it has the dark hole in the center as well.
This is a little bit different. It's another craft. This was out front of our house, and it was a video of a craft. It was super bright, and it was very slowly flying by. And I zoomed in, and I thought it was really interesting about the hole in the center. But definitely came once.
It's definitely not aerodynamic. You don't see any rocket jets. You don't see any rotors. You don't see any propellers. And it's just ambling across the sky. People have no idea how much energy it would take to suspend that thing in high in our atmosphere and have it just amble across the screen. It's unexplainable by our physics.
Well, I think that's also another key. I think our physics are broken, and most people and things are going by old Newtonian physics. And I think that there's been some kind of a lid put on the advancement of the quantum physics. But, I think that personally, this is just my opinion. I think that pretty much everything we've told us is upside down and inside out and just plain wrong. And I'm really excited about the future for humanity if we can hang on. I don't have any illusions that ET is going to come down and save us. I think ET knows that we can save ourselves. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
They want us to wake up.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
And realize that our physics has left a bunch of stuff out. Like, for example, the direct observable connection between consciousness and quantum physics.
Yes, I agree. And I also think that there's also that same connection for everything that we consider paranormal. And exciting times coming. Oh my gosh, look at this.
Okay, so that is in our backyard.
It's on the grid.
And that's the grid, the same grid we had in the earlier picture. But this is in our backyard, but we're full of orbs and the grid. And those are 3 of the houses behind our house.
Wow. And so each one of those is an orb.
Yeah.
And they're passing in and out of this matrix, whatever this pattern is.
We that grid, I just couldn't believe it was showing up because it's in a completely different part of the state. And now it's just in our yard.
Wow. It's also very beautiful. And it reminds me of cymatics. You know how sound and vibration create patterns.
Yep. Yes. So, people can go watch videos of sand poured on a drum head and somebody tapping the drum head and watching the sand fall into a resonant pattern. It looks just like that, or not exactly, but similar enough. That comes to mind.
Well, I actually also believe that everything is. Although it appears physical and solid to us, everything is vibrational in frequency.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. And I think
we actually already know that from quantum physics. The frequencies and the vibrations are how you resolve the properties in quantum mechanics.
Oh, exciting times. Exciting. Your lives are exciting to have this stuff happening to you. This is really another really amazing image. What are we seeing here?
No, you identified it earlier.
Yeah, that's a close-up of...
Oh, that's the close-up from the grid that we saw earlier.
And that craft is coming through that portal.
Yes. I didn't see it on the smaller image, but it's really clear here.
She enhanced it.
I don't know what it is, but it's really cool. I'm not sure if it's a creature or a craft or what.
I don't know, but it's interesting. Very, very interesting. And this is when you were talking about there being smoke where there was no smoke?
Yep. And this is pointed at the ground. So the thing in the upper right is not a star or a light. That's an orb. And the obvious face is just so clearly non-human. And if you will spend time going over this image, you'll see there are several faces in it. And it's just, we were blown away. And the next day they're talking to her in her mind. Well,
the image, what sticks out first to me is the large face, forming the large face with the eyes and the nose and the mouth. But I would like to spend more time looking at it. It's amazing. There seems to be another face over here.
Yeah.
And you took that at night outside in the grass. Is that when you were taking pictures? Bob and LaLa said, "Let me take the picture and put it to the ground." And how did you know to take the picture of the ground? You just intuitively knew, right?
Yeah, I asked them to show up, but then I got a feeling like someone was watching me. You know, when you walk into a room, you don't know anybody's in there, but you feel somebody in there, and then you look and they're there. That's what it feels like.
Well, that's amazing. And here we got that's a big orb, right? Up there above the
and the upper left is that smoke stuff again. There was no smoke and no fog.
No fog and smoke without anything burning?
Nothing.
So that's part of the cloaking mechanism, perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like it, feels like it. It's like they're cloaking their craft or their portal, but something about my camera catches it easily.
Yeah.
Wow. These are unbelievable. Like if you didn't see them, they'd be hard to even imagine.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the same picture as the earlier one, but this is the natural color. And we filtered this color through blue, and this thing just all stands out.
Pops, yeah. So that would be the same as this one.
That's the same, that one. That's that's how we put that through a blue filter.
Wow. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Is there anything else you wanted to share about any of these images before I close the screen share?
Well, I think you've got it. You chose well.
Well, actually, LaLa did. I just I I wasn't sure how to make them come out in a logical order. I'm not very technical. I'm just winging it on my own, figuring everything out here.
That's
But
great.
I thought if I put it in a PDF, then we can just go through them like slides. So, wow, that's amazing. So now we've seen some of your experiences. Can you again get a little bit into what do they want? Who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? And is it possible for ordinary people just to be able to also be able to see them?
Okay, so a couple of months ago, LaLa and I decided to work with Jimmy Blanchett.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing we have decided to do is attempt a really difficult experiment, but it appears to be what they want. So Jimmy sends a signal and they respond. LaLa asks them to behave intelligently, and they do. So if he sends a specific thing, she says, "This is what I'm sending," and they respond. I can teach a computer to translate. So what have I just described for you? A technological two-way communication system trained by two experiencers from what they do.
Oh, fantastic.
And no one will need abilities to talk to them.
Yeah. So coming together from, well, just two different perspectives on the same thing, you're able to do so much more. I'm a big fan of Jimmy Blanchett. And the other thing is what's interesting is how he's figured out mathematically how everything is almost the same and everything is connected. And I think that's really exciting, because to me, it sort of points to this being a bit of a holographic, I don't know if you want to call it a simulation. I don't think it's a simulation, because we are actually having it as a lived experience. But, for everything to be that mathematically precise, and of course that was given to him from his sightings. Everything we know is all changing and changing so very, very fast. So ultimately, so you're going to be forming some kind of a computer program that can then do direct communication. And what do you think is the ultimate goal? Is it to wake us up, or is it to give us a message, or just to let us know that the world is not what we've been taught it is?
Well, both LaLa and I have the experience that you mentioned earlier, which is once you see it, you can't deny it. So no experiencer needs to tell an anecdote for a person to push the button on the radio and have them respond and the computer tell them what they said. That's nothing. There's nothing woo-woo about that at all. So then the person's mind go, "Oh, this is real." And they just responded to me intelligently, and this computer interpreted it. Scientists will take it. They will do it. They will say, "Hey, look, we've done this, and it's repeatable," and so forth. And there are other repeatable things that we care about. I'll just point out one. A lot of people were really down on the secret of Skinwalker Ranch, but near the end of the latest season, they really hit pay dirt. They discovered a 1.6 gigahertz signal almost always accompanies the phenomenon. So they got two other investigators, and they're going to other places like Bradford Ranch, the Wilson Ranch that Bigelow owned, and other places. And I know some places, so I'm going to suggest they go there. And if this commonality amongst all these places having this phenomenon is 1.6 gigahertz shows up, now we can do science. Now that's a repeatable event every time you see this weirdness. So it's physical. It's not mental.
Oh, that's really an important finding, a really important finding. And then that will spill over into other things. Like I'm sure eventually there's a grid pattern on the earth, of energetic grid pattern. I'm sure it ties into that. There are these triangles, like the Bermuda Triangle, where there's all kinds of things. It's interesting. My birth father disappeared in the triangle off the coast of Japan.
Oh, no.
Yeah, very small craft that he had built himself. And he just disappeared. They never found him. They never found the boat. They never found anything, just gone. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I mean, I've come to terms with it, but also I actually never saw him after I was 4 years old, and this happened later. So he had already, well, anyway, it's a long, sad story. I'm not going to get into it, but I just thought, for point of, isn't it interesting that these things happen? And then I've had a paranormal life, but I'm embedded into a normal family that thinks I'm right out of my mind, which is okay, because I would rather spend time with people that have had unusual experiences. It's quite a different interaction and community, right?
That's true. Very.
So I'm wondering, we're coming closer to the end, but I want to spend some time with both of you talking about the services you offer to humanity. I think that's super, super important, because people are just waking up, and I don't know, I went through a lot of mental and emotional turmoil when I was waking up and figuring everything out, and it seems to come in layers. I'm at the point now where I find out something that's shocking, and I just go, yeah, of course it's like that. But in the beginning, it was really a kind of a tough transition, breaking free from my programming, and I'm sure this is happening more and more and more. So I was hoping you could talk a bit about what you offer folks, because I know that you both have good hearts, really good hearts, and you want to see people not be suffering, really, to have some emancipation from that.
So we have a website they can go to for readings that helps with that, or if you've had an abduction, or if you want to talk to someone you lost, it's LaLaBrightLLC.com. Or you could just write us if you don't want a reading. But I would say that there's a lot of people, most people go through something paranormal or otherworldly. So it's just not talked about. So you're not a weirdo if you've had it happen. It's actually quite normal. We're just told it's not normal. And that if we're not the ones you want to talk to, find someone you're comfortable with, find a group that you're comfortable with, and just share or listen, and then baby step it to sharing. So just don't hold it in, because it's not helpful to you or whoever.
No, you're sitting around worrying about whether or not you're crazy. If you get in a room with 24 other people who have similar experiences, and you see they're as sane and as solid as the Rock of Gibraltar, you're not crazy, and neither are they.
Right. There's a lot of.
I agree. I struggled for a long time. I spent over 5 years where I didn't share anything, because I thought I'm weird enough. I didn't really want to be weirder,
Right.
But at the same time, then I got the call to get the message out, and I just started connecting with other people. And the other thing too is, if I went to see a mental health practitioner, especially here in Alberta, they would suggest that I'm having a delusion. Well, we can't all be having the same delusion all over the world.
Right.
Like that's ridiculous.
And Bud Hopkins and John Mack and others, they now estimate that in the United States alone, there are millions of us.
Yeah, I agree. And I was told by my guides that I'm not, someone special for having this experience. There's millions and millions of people who are regularly interacting, but they may not be consciously aware of it. So it can happen in their sleep. It can happen during lucid dreaming. It can happen so many different ways. I always encourage people to find their own experience by going within, and I'm sure you can help with that too. So I'm really glad the links are going to be in the description below, but I'm really glad you said vocally. There will be some people that are going to listen to this on audio podcast. I encourage all of those people to come and watch the video, see the images for yourselves, visit LaLa and Bob's Facebook pages. See the images and the videos for yourselves. And of course, when you want some support, please do reach out to LaLa. And I'm so glad that you're doing this. And I also want to mention that you do some amazing face painting.
Thank you.
Oh my God. And the joy that must bring to so many people and all the kids. And you do such a beautiful job. Everything you do is
Let me brag on it. Look at this organite she did by hand.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Yeah, she just got a form and just did it.
And we make those custom for people that want it. It's helpful with EMF. It's helpful with clearing energies. It's lots of different energies. They should Google Organite. It's very, a lot of people don't know about it, but it's very helpful even for your plants.
We had 2 dying plants. She put it in the bed next to the dying plants, and within a day they were blooming.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I actually also carry my own line of orgone generators on my website. And
I have one of your necklaces. I love it.
Oh, do you?
I got it as a present from Anthony.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. One of them. Isn't that funny? Later today, on Anthony's show, he's going to be actually featuring. I sent him a whole bunch. So, and it was interesting because it was my ET contacts who I communicate with, not through voice, but through body sensation.
Yeah.
But they originally turned me on to orgone generators. So I'm absolutely thrilled that you're making them and that you custom make them for people. I'm a firm believer in them. I love them. They've changed my life. And it's interesting because I've gone through periods of time where I didn't sell any. And I went, isn't that strange that nobody's buying my orgone generators? And then my guides told me it's because, Karen, you need them right now. So I thought that was really interesting that I needed them and they gave me the support that I needed. And that all gets into quantum physics too, because the piezoelectric effect is what's drawing from 0 point or from below the Planck level, tuning it to the crystals, amplifying it, and then sending it out. And then the symbol you put on them also adds intention. And so you're streaming all this goodness into your reality. It can't help but help.
I just wanted to add that Anthony and I both have these low light level cameras by Psionics, and you should see the orbs he get, the CE5 craft he get, and she walked out. I was sitting holding the camera. I says, I feel like I need to go outside, and she used this. It's been a few nights. She walks out of the bedroom and she says, do you think we need to take your low light level camera and go outside? So I went, oh yeah, now we're going to do it. I said, so I'm going to turn it on, ask them to show up. And I put it to the sky, and a fleet of them flew through the camera. So we'll make sure that that's visible. It's on a YouTube site, but we'll make it visible easily.
Wonderful.
I didn't know about Organite until after my dad passed first, and he started messing with my phone to send me messages. And that's how I learned about it. So I started making it. So
you learned about it from the other side as well. So
I had no clue. Yeah.
I actually had a friend that made the pieces that I have. He's not making them anymore. So the ones I have are, I guess when they're gone, they're gone. But I don't really have the facility. You have to have enough warmth for them to cure properly, and also you need to be able to deal with what I'm going to call the stink factor while they're curing. You got to really take care of yourself when you're making them. But once they're set, they're inert, they're like glass, they're clean, they don't outgas, they're not plastic, and they will last a lifetime, and they never stop working. So congratulations, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Have some orgone generators for people too. So I guess we're pretty much out of time. I just want to give you another minute in case there's anything else you want to add, anything that I should have asked and forgot or didn't, or anything.
I have a question actually. What does I see there's lots of spirals on your page. What does that mean?
The logarithmic spiral.
Because I know my whole life, whenever I felt they're attacked by spiritually or whatever entity that wasn't great, I knew to start drawing a spiral wherever I was.
Yeah.
And whatever was trying to attack me stopped. And I don't know why I knew how to do that. So what's it mean to you?
You're talking about the spiral that's on each of
Yeah.
Yes.
that side.
The butterfly and the
Yeah, well, that's actually my brand. But how I got my brand was because it was a symbol I hadn't seen anywhere else, and it really appealed to me.
Mhm.
And it really appealed to me because it's symbolic of how you start with basically nothing and you build, and that's how energy and creation and manifestation happens. And then if you keep at it, eventually it gets bigger and it gets bigger, and as the spiral starts to unfold. And then what happens is you start to notice just noticeable differences. So for me, I had to start from scratch all by myself, trying to figure all this out on my own. And that's very much how I see the whole process of personal evolution, manifesting, bringing into being what wasn't there before. And after a certain point, it takes off a life of its own, or an energy gathering of itself, and you don't have to worry about it. It's kind of like getting subscribers on YouTube. It took me 5 years to get 54 subscribers, and then things started to take off. So, and now I don't worry about it because I have as many as I'm supposed to have, so it doesn't matter.
Very good.
That's where the spiral comes from. But I use the spiral all the time. I use it for strengthening my chakras. I also have some orgone generating wands, ones for clearing and ones for healing, so that I also will regularly wand my chakras with the orgone generators as well.
Okay.
And the only thing limiting you with the orgone generators is just you haven't thought of using it this way or that way. So you've already found out they help with plants.
Right.
Absolutely. Big difference. I had a woman buy them from me just because she would graft different kinds of, say, apple trees onto one tree so that the tree would produce 4 or 5 different kinds of apples.
Okay.
And she used the orgone generators for that. I also have, sorry, I didn't mean to get carried away about it, but I also have a series of videos on how to use them in the bath, because they'll actually restructure your water. And so I have a method of using them for self-care. I have they're disc shaped, because you don't really want to take a pointy pyramid to the bath with you, right? So these are nice, soft, disc shaped, and you put them in the bath, and then you put Epsom salts, and you put in sea salt, and you can put in baking soda, or you can put in apple cider vinegar, and you can put in essential oils. You can put in herbs like rosemary, and you make kind of like a soup, and you get in there, and I find it really facilitates connection with my guides, and my spiritual connection helps me with lucid dreaming, because we become like a super powered battery when we're in there. And then the reason I do it in the bath is because the plumbing is all connected. It's all grounded. So it's a way of getting your earthing when it's too cold or snowy to go outside. There's a lot of things. So that's just some examples. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your orgone generators, but I'm saying
I appreciate
the limit when it comes to what you can use them for, and just experiment and enjoy. And
thank you.
Amazing, simple technology. Anyway,
now I have new things to try.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Well, if you go to my YouTube channel and you go through my videos, I don't know if I have a playlist for that, but anyway, you'll find them. Or also on my website, I have free resources where you can find all my videos too, and take a look at them. And they've got some guided meditations and some things you can do.
Okay. Thank you.
I've just been experimenting with them very intensely. Anyway, I'm so happy to have had you on the show. Again, was there anything you wanted to add? Sorry, I didn't mean to take away the conversation.
I said the only thing I want to add is thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you both so much. I follow you on Facebook. I watch you when you're on my friends' shows. I have almost all my friends are podcasters now. It's funny how it's worked out. But I enjoy watching everything you have to say. You're a great inspiration, a great help. You really help ground people into, yes, this is happening, and no, it's not scary. And we're doing this, And the way you came together obviously was really meant to be. So thank you so much. I appreciate you very much. And I hope you come back one day and be on the show again.
We would love to be on again. We can always tell. We would happily come on again. But let's get a few more new things and we'll come back.
That'd be great.
Hello to your audience, and we're happy to meet you.
Yeah, and thank you to the viewers for joining us today, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a channel and I wouldn't have a show. And so I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm sending much love to everyone, and we'll see you again on Aliens and Angels. Bye-bye, everybody.